U.S. President Donald Trump doubling down, insisting he has evidence China is trying to meddle in the upcoming U.S. election. Trump made the claim while chairing a UN Security Council meeting, then repeating it just hours later while giving a news conference to reporters. CGTN's Nathan King is at the United Nations. Nathan, what are we hearing from China?
Well, it's quite incredible. This China bashing is definitely official policy here at the United Nations General Assembly this week. We had the comments about China and trade in front of the UN General Assembly, in front of those world leaders from the US president, and not once but twice unsubstantiated allegations leveled at China about the midterm elections. The latest one from, as you said, this rather freewheeling press conference that went on for an hour and 20 minutes. Trump really doubling down on a lot of things, contradicting himself, going back and forth. Don't take my word for it. Let's have a listen to his allegations.
One thing they are trying to do is they're trying to convince people to go against Donald Trump. If you look at the Des Moines Register, they have ads that are made to look like editorials saying about, oh, you got to stop Trump, you got to stop him, you got to vote against him. My farmers are so incredible. These are patriots.
So what Donald Trump is referring to is a 4-page advertisement. It actually says paid for by China Daily at the top, where it basically explains how tariffs are hurting farmers, for example, and others in the Midwest. It's an advert taken out of a local paper. Other countries have done this all the time, but this seems to have really annoyed him, as has the tariffs that respond to US tariffs as well. But all this started actually in the UN Security Council a few hours earlier, when Trump was actually meant to be holding a meeting about something else. Let's take a listen. This meeting was meant to be about the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, but the US president used the occasion to level allegations once again at China.
Regrettably, we found that China has been attempting to interfere in our upcoming 2018 election, coming up in November, against my administration. They do not want me or us to win, because I am the first president ever to challenge China on trade. And we are winning on trade. We are winning at every level. We don't want them to meddle or interfere in our upcoming election.
China's foreign minister rejected the accusations.
China has all along followed the principle of non-interference in other countries' domestic affairs. This is a tradition of Chinese foreign policy. Our observance of this policy has received acclaim from the international community. We did not and will not interfere in any country's domestic affairs. We refuse to accept any unwarranted accusations against China.
The White House also arranged a conference call with reporters on so-called Chinese interference, and again offered no evidence, except to say that Chinese retaliation against US trade tariffs were a form of interference. The US Vice President is set to give a speech on the subject in the coming days. On the subject of non-proliferation, the US President once again defended Washington's unilateral withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal, despite Tehran's compliance.
The JCPOA was an important step forward.
Nation after nation defended the deal, officially called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. Wang said it was an agreement endorsed by the entire United Nations Security Council, including the United States.
The JCPOA on the Iranian nuclear issue is a hard-won achievement of multilateralism conducive to international nuclear non-proliferation and peace and stability in the Middle East. There is no international agreement that is perfect.
And Asia, going back to the allegations of Chinese meddling, as you know, we're just a few weeks away from the midterm elections. Republicans are behind in many of those states that are being hit by tariffs. That might be one of the reasons why the US president decided to lash out. We'll have to wait and see what that so-called evidence is next week.
And Nathan, he also talked about Canada, basically saying this is not a good time in their relationship because of NAFTA negotiations, and also talked about his warm and fuzzy relationship with DPRK leader Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, that actually the most positive things he had to say about a world leader this week was the leader of the DPRK, Kim Jong-un, talking about these private notes that they've been exchanging, these wonderful letters that one day he will share with us, that they have this great relationship. And he completely undercut the rest of his administration by basically announcing that there's no now time limit for Pyongyang to get rid of its nuclear weapons, to denuclearize. He said in the press conference, Mike, referring to Mike Pompeo, I told you there's no time limit. Well, Mike Pompeo said it was January 2021. John Bolton, his national security advisor, has said it was only going to be a year. So what is the US policy now? We do not know. And you're right on Canada. Trump actually said in that press conference they had refused to take a meeting with Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, because of their deep differences over trade, suggests they're going to slap auto tariffs on them if they don't reach some sort of NAFTA renegotiation. By the way, the Canadians are saying there was no such meeting scheduled.
Okay, Nathan King, live for us at the United Nations. Thank you.